FPL game week 5 is almost here, and in today's team selection video I'm going to share with you how I could line up for the deadline considering potential transfers, as well as talking about my chip strategy for the next few weeks of FPL. So let's get into things. Welcome back to the team selection series. We're going to start things off with the backline as always, but just before we do so, if you are brand new to the channel, feel free to subscribe if you enjoy today's content, and of course like the video as well. Those two things massively support the channel. But kicking things off with the backline, there are a lot more sort of benching headaches than I expected in this game week, and I don't know if that's because of the results of recent fixtures and changes of manager, even especially when we're talking about Forest and Postecoglou. But at the moment, this is how we're lining up. We've got Vicario in net against Brighton away from home. I think Thomas Frank has transitioned Spurs enough as a side to look more classy in defence, and they do tend to keep clean sheets these days, with obviously Vicario coming away with a decent score last game week. I do believe it was 9 or 10 points. Brighton away, though, it's not the greatest fixture, but I do think it's slightly better than Dubravka's fixture with Nottingham Forest at home. I like the home fixture for Burnley, but I can't quite bring myself to start Dubravka this week. Perhaps I'll change later in the week and closer to the deadline, in fact. But yeah, Vicario does start on net. I think he deserves it. You've got Murillo there with the Burnley away fixture, and now this is where it comes to a point where Murillo is yellow flagged in FPL. That's a worry, so I will be waiting on news about Murillo going into the game week 5 deadline stream. So hopefully he's available to play, because I do think it's a decent enough fixture to give him a chance. It's just how are Nottingham Forest going to react as a system to Postecoglou? Are they going to massively change? I mean, they just lost a game last night, 3-2, and Swansea scoring in the last minutes of the game. Typical Ange Postecoglou fashion, of course. They scored a brilliant team goal as well, but yeah, I don't know. Do I want to maybe put Esteve in there instead of Murillo and bench Murillo? Maybe that's going to be the player anyway if Murillo is injured. You've then got Anderson in the middle and Virgil van Dijk next to him. These two are obviously going to start this game week. Anderson, Brentford at home, I think it's great. Craven Cottage is a pretty difficult place to go to for some teams. Brentford obviously getting a really great result against Chelsea. Maybe confidence will be much, much higher now. Keith Andrews slowly forming a good side with the Brentford boys who remained at the club. But Anderson, defensive contributions, great centre-back. I think he's honestly going to be in my team for a good number of weeks, perhaps even past, and use him on wildcard and into the next few weeks, going beyond and closer to the halfway point of the season. I think he's that good. Virgil van Dijk as well. You've got Everton at home this week, a derby fixture, scoring a beautiful, beautiful header last night against Atletico Madrid. What a game that was, by the way. But them two, they're pretty safe in the team. I think they've got good fixtures, good chances of a clean sheet there, and of course Virgil van Dijk somehow has an amazing chance of scoring headers from just behind the penalty spot. The power he generated, unbelievable. But you then have Pedro Porro on the bench there. Could he possibly start instead of Murillo? But then I'm doubling up against Brighton away from home. That doesn't quite feel good. So right now, this is how we're lining up for the defence. I think it looks pretty decent. No transfers needed in the back line. We then move up to the midfield here with Salah captain, of course. I mean, we'll leave Salah to the last bit of the midfielder section because I've got a little bit more to say about him than the other players here. We'll start with Bruno Fernandes against Chelsea at home. At least it's a home fixture is what I'll say. Bruno Fernandes and Manchester United, they have been disappointing. They really have. If it wasn't for the penalty that Bruno got against Burnley, maybe he wouldn't be in the squad, but I do still think he's a really good asset. I think the data is pretty decent at the moment. I would like to see a few more DEFCON actions, but that would indicate he's probably playing a lot deeper than maybe I want. But his FPL points still are quite good from deeper positions, and we've seen this from comparing the attacking role of Bruno and the defensive role of Bruno. They're pretty similar. But yeah, Bruno, at least it's a home fixture. That's all I've really got to say. I really hope he does something within this fixture as he goes into his quite good fixtures against Burnley and Sunderland in the next few weeks. Reinders, Arsenal away. I mean, it's Arsenal away. Arsenal are the best defence in the league, in my opinion. It's going to be difficult to get anything within this fixture. Defensive contributions seem to be quite unlikely with Reinders in FPL. I'm just hoping maybe an attack and return, maybe an assist, something from Reinders this game week. Similar with Florian Wirtz. I feel as though people are just dogging on this guy so hard right now. They're saying he's terrible, all this money, he's not doing anything. I honestly don't think they're watching Florian Wirtz. Just look away from the ball on the screen, stop following around, just take your eyes off the ball, watch him. He's really, really good. The selfish runs he makes, the unselfish runs he makes, the passion, he does everything. I think he's brilliant. I think he's moments away from being a fantastic FPL asset, but we don't have too long before Liverpool's fixtures start to turn. So maybe this is the last week with him in my team. We'll have to wait and see. It's more than likely that I sell Salah to get up to Erling Haaland for game week 6 next game week, potentially rolling the transfer this week. Kudus, Brighton away from home. I think after seeing the 3 goals against West Ham and him not being involved, well, he was involved, but he was involved in the celebrations. No goals, no assists. And of course, that Pedro Porro crossing the box, he hits it, and it just doesn't go in. That would have been an amazing moment for my squad, playing them both last week. But yeah, Kudus, the numbers are still okay. I just want a little bit more goal threat. That's what I want from Kudus. You then have Salah. Now, everyone was so adamant to sell this guy straight away. Oh my God, get rid of him, get Haaland in this week. I just think he's probably the best captaincy option this game week. I think people forget how important captaincy is in this game. I mean, if you go sell Salah and go up to Haaland, Haaland plays the best defence in the league this week. I think it can wait a week, and that's exactly what I'm going to do when Mo Salah kind of goes into a difficult fixture run. Get rid of him, get Haaland in, and potentially wildcard Salah back in a few weeks' time. But he looked fantastic against Atletico Madrid. I feel as though he looked like a different player almost. The energy was there, and he was getting the ball a lot more, and a goal and assist in that game could have been a lot more. He put something on the plate for Ekitike, and he just couldn't finish it. He did the same with Wirtz, and Wirtz took an extra touch and passed it to Ekitike. There was so much in that game that looked really promising for Mohamed Salah, and of course, it was against a really great side in Atletico Madrid. They're now playing Everton at home this week. I just hope and pray he doesn't wait till the last minute of the game to score again. Finishing off the lineup here with Mateta and Gyökeres. Now, you'll know if you've watched the channel before or tuned into my deadline streams that I am a Sunderland fan. So, of course, I watched Palace face Sunderland at Selhurst Park last game week. Of course, a massive point for my team, Sunderland. But a quite disappointing performance from Palace overall. They struggled for the majority of the fixture to get anything going, in all honesty. And I think the injury to Ismail Assar is much bigger than we actually think in terms of how Palace move forward. We know that Ismail Assar has unbelievable data to back him, but watching it in person and just seeing the struggle in going forward for Palace, it does raise question marks with, is Mateta actually going to do well against West Ham this week? He looks tired, he's doing a lot of work for Palace. There's not really a backup option that can be subbed in. I don't know, things aren't looking quite good going forward for Palace right now. I still think defensively they look quite strong. Obviously, they kept Sunderland at bay for a full 90 minutes. We didn't really have too many clear-cut chances, but chances were still there. But yeah, Mateta, I'm not too sure he'll do amazing against West Ham, but West Ham do look absolutely shocking. So maybe that just counters it out and he'll do quite well. I do think Potter and West Ham are in extreme danger. I think Potter will probably get sacked in the next few weeks, in all honesty. But yeah, Mateta, West Ham away, not a bad fixture. You then move to Gyökeres here. Man City at home, I think it's good. I think there's not going to be a lot of amazing chances in the game. I think both teams will keep each other out pretty well. It'll be a quite cagey fixture, not too many goals. I don't know, I've got a feeling that Gyökeres could get something within this game. There's going to be a weakness within the side. Is it going to be within transition? Are Arsenal going to sit back and try hit them on the counter? We don't really know how things are going to look, but I know Arsenal will defend extremely well against Manchester City. It's always a really great game to watch tactically between two managers that have obviously worked together in the past. Gyökeres, he came off early within the Champions League, which does raise question marks whether he's going to play a full 90 this week. What I will say is, I do think the substitution was somewhat to do with the cut on his head, somewhat to do with resting him. Of course, we do forget that there was fitness concerns with Gyökeres to start the Premier League season. He was slow to get going, but now I think he's looking quite good. So Man City at home, might actually be a decent enough fixture for him. I don't think it's that amazing, but I feel as though something's in this game for him. What I'll do is I'll cut to the next section of the video where I'm going to speak a little bit more about my potential wildcard time in FPL. When am I going to hit that button? So this is of course how we're lining up for the game week, like we've just spoke about in detail. We are planning to roll a transfer here. I've spoke to Sam, the founder of Night Manager, and Night Managers are suggesting to roll the transfer right now. If you are interested in Night Managers, they're the best performing AI algorithm in the game. The link's in the description. There's a 2 free week trial right now if you use code FPLMOGS. And of course, if you do enjoy their services after the 2 free weeks, 20% off your first build month using code FPLMOGS as well. Go check it out. The link is in the description. But after having that talk with him and saying, well, how could we attack the next few weeks? We're going to roll. And when we get to game week 6, we then have a quite difficult fixture for Mateta this game week. So he would go. And then we also have the opportunity to get rid of Salah this week against Crystal Palace away from home. He goes into some pretty difficult fixtures, and I think going into game week 8 onwards looks a lot better than holding him for Palace away and Chelsea away. So Manchester United is always a great fixture for Mohamed Salah. That's going to be great. Brentford, decent fixture. Villa at home's not too bad. You've got City, then Forest, and then obviously a really great run. So a long-term hold does make a lot of sense. And of course, Manchester City play Burnley in game week 6, so it would make a lot of sense to go for Erling Haaland. So we'll make that transfer there. We'll get rid of Salah, and it's really then 8.2 million. We look at some of the fixtures for game week 6 because we're going to be planning to wildcard in game week 8. We can kind of have fun for the next 2 weeks with a pretty interesting pick. Could we go Spurs? Could we potentially go Arsenal and target this West Ham fixture in game week 7? There's a lot of things we could do. I personally like the run of Manchester United more than anyone for those 2 weeks. You've got Brentford away, Sunderland at home, 2 really great fixtures, and someone with amazing data right now, and I think is on the verge of doing some great returns in FPL, is actually Brian Mbeumo. It is the question then, how are they going to perform against Chelsea this week at home, Manchester United, if they look shocking again? The transfer plans will completely change. I'll probably go off Mbeumo ever so slightly, but if they look great, then we're obviously going to look to potentially make this Mbeumo move happen. So that's probably how I would line up and attack game week 6 in particular. Team looks really strong. Of course, sadly keeping Florian Wirtz in the team, but it's another one of them players who I think's almost there from a real big haul in FPL and getting involved within the goals and assists within the games. I feel as though he's adapting to the Liverpool team well and adapting to the Premier League slowly but surely. So maybe we see in the next few weeks Florian Wirtz do something. But I think what will end up happening is in game week 7 when he faces Chelsea away from home, that's when I'll probably do the transfer and get him out. And I quite like the move for this week in particular and going for Erebici Eze. Playing the strongest lineup I can would probably look like this. Maybe going captaincy on Erling Haaland, obviously against Burnley, then against Brentford. And then game week 8 would be the wildcard window. That's when I would click the button, and it would be to fill up on Arsenal players, look to get back Cole Palmer for his good run of fixtures, potentially look at some other teams with some decent fixtures. I quite like the wildcard 8 move, and I think that's how I'm gearing up my team for the next few weeks. But of course, as we mentioned this video, we'll go back to what the team looks like overall. This is how the team looks for this game week, rolling the transfer over to get Erling Haaland in the next game week. Salah out and Mbeumo in, Mateta out, Haaland in. As always, I will be streaming for the deadline on Saturday, answering your questions and just having fun with you all in chat. Of course, I always outro my videos with a massive thank you to you guys at home for supporting the FPL Mugs YouTube channel. Of course, if you did enjoy today's video, make sure you drop a like. And if you aren't yet subscribed, go ahead and subscribe for future FPL content and deadline streams. But that's everything for today's video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.